So we are discussing this topic called as the divine and demonic natures. So in the last class we had talked about how the demonic persons invent their own philosophies, right? Also the demonic nature means that they want to do sense gratification till the moment of death. We saw that. Did we also discuss how Kali Yuga creates an artificial emergency? We also discussed that. Everything is an emergency in Kali Yuga, therefore spiritual life goes to the background. We discussed that. We also talked about how people complain when the Lord is worshipped opulently, saying that the demonic nature complains that how come you people are spending so much time on worshipping deities. Rather than that, why can't you do something to feed the poor people? So these kind of arguments we often get. Why should idols be worshipped with so much of opulence? Why do you need such fine dresses and jewelry? In fact, now Janmashtami we all know how the deities are going to be dressed. So people cannot understand. The demonic mentality cannot understand this. And we talked about how Tirupati, when they have 1,40,000 crores, then the whole world is complaining. Whereas when double that money goes in a political scam, then everyone says nobody has a problem with that. They just lament and keep quiet for some time. So this is the nature of this is the nature of demonic mentality. The demonic mentality cannot stand or cannot appreciate the divine consciousness. We also saw how the demonic consciousness cannot see the good qualities of the divine consciousness. Okay, so the demonic consciousness is always at loggerheads with the good consciousness. So rather than seeing the good, then people are always trying to see the the negative points. And the demonic nature also, I think we discussed this also, that the demonic nature cannot tolerate a devotee's advancement. Did we discuss this? I thought we did. Or a devotee's happiness. So the demonic people cannot tolerate the devotees being happy. So the demonic nature sees only a devotee's faults despite numerous good qualities in the devotee. And now in verses 19 onwards, then Lord Krishna is going to talk about how he reciprocates with the demonic people.
A small question. A lot of points that we made that people are envious of or demonic nature actually says we're trying to save him, but he's going into that, he is destroyed or he is going in the wrong direction. Then why the Lord is being opulently worshipped, or why so much of donation, why not feed the poor? Is it more demoniac or more ignorant? Or is it, are they
Demonic.
So I can see myself making some of the arguments, but really when you acquire some knowledge and understanding of it, then your view changes. Was it my demonic nature changing, or I think I was just ignorant of the actual philosophy or actual knowledge behind it. That's why I was acting or saying those things.
It's a very good point you have raised. Okay, so wait for this, because that question is going to get answered today. Okay. There are two types of people who are ignorant and people who are deliberately deviating from the scriptures. So like that. So that's going to be answered. If it doesn't, then come back to it. It's going to be answered, but if in our discussion we are not able to address that adequately, then you again remind, so that we come to that point. So we discussed till verse 18, if I remember correctly. 16. Okay. So 17 and 18 also pretty much same on the theme we already covered, so I just read that. Self-complacent and always impudent. I am reading 17. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. For example, you can see videos where in the name of festivals, animals are slaughtered in public. It's very difficult to see that. I happened to see one video where the animal is brought. In fact, I think it was, I don't know which animal it was, I can't remember, but it was, I think probably a camel. It was brought and then it was just slit, and like from a pipeline bread, water gushes out. Like that, blood is coming out, and then it's slowly dying. So, and then people are all rejoicing like that, and they are apparently praying to some god, as if the god is going to be very pleased with this kind of worship. So this is an example of the sacrifices where proud sacrifices are made without following any rules or regulations, and it is considered as holy. So this is called as avidhi purvakam. Prabhupada writes, avidhi purvakam means which is opposite to vidhi. Vidhi means proper rules and regulations. Avidhi is opposite of that. So these, Prabhupada concludes this purport 17. He says that these things are always due to ignorance and illusion. Even here it is said that ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So ignorance actually cannot be in one sense pardoned, because everyone has an opportunity to inquire into the absolute truth. Nobody can say that, no, I didn't get an opportunity. Everyone has an opportunity. For example, talking of opportunities, Ramakrishna Maharaj was giving a class in Fiji many years back. This famous video, I don't know how many of you have seen, Demigods and Goddesses. You have seen that video? Yeah? Huh?
In Bhakti Vriksha we spoke.
In Bhakti Vriksha you saw, yeah. When recently. Okay. So one person, he is very fanatic about one Baba. Okay, and he says that, he says, Ramakrishna Maharaj asks him, why do you think that this Baba is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So he says that because he produces gold, like that. So then, of course, Ramakrishna Maharaj also says so many mining companies are also extracting gold. So just getting gold is not a symptom of whatever. Or he produces ash. So ash is available in the crematoriums anyway. Even from shops you can get holy ash. So you don't need all these things for someone to call a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Maharaj asks him, has he solved the problem of birth, disease, old age and death? And the gentleman replies that he hadn't. Then he doesn't know what to answer. Then he looks at Ramakrishna Maharaj and says, maybe he didn't get an opportunity to do so. And that's a very polite answer. And Ramakrishna Maharaj says, what do you mean he didn't get an opportunity to do so? People are dying all the time. What opportunity do you need to provide some solution for death? So that's the opportunity. So people have enough opportunities to understand the absolute truth. There is no, in fact, yesterday I was driving to drop Raji and Nachu. They had come to our house to guide Aditya in something. So then I was dropping them back, and then I saw that there are a lot of churches in our own area. But it is said, welcome to the church, Sunday sometime to sometime. That's all. And even on Sundays, we usually never see people flocking to the churches. Nobody is interested. So there are institutions which are trying to give the message of the absolute truth. But who is interested today? Nobody is interested in knowing the truth. So in that sense, ignorance cannot be an excuse. Because of ignorance, if we are in the cycle of birth, disease, old age and death, we cannot really say I was ignorant in that sense. Verse 18. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against real religion. So in the next two verses now, the verses 16 and 18, after that, from 19 to 20, in fact 19 and 20, these two verses, Lord Krishna is talking about how he reciprocates with the demonic people. So we had a lot of discussion on demonic, so I am not going to belabor that any further. So we will talk about now what Lord Krishna says, how he reciprocates with these kind of people. So that's where we start our class today. Text 19. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. You don't have a book? Maybe you can share with someone.
So in this verse, it is clearly indicated that the placing of particular individual soul in a particular body is the prerogative of the Supreme Will. The demonic person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims. But his next birth will depend upon the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and not on himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, it is stated that an individual soul after his death is put into the womb of a mother, where he gets particular type of body under the supervision of the superior power. Therefore, in the material existence, we find so many species of life, animals, insects, men and so on. All are arranged by the superior power. So they are not accidental. As for the demonic, it is clearly said here that they are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious, the lowest of mankind. Such demonic species of men are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. The many kinds of hunters in the jungle are considered to belong to the demonic species of life.
So what are the points here?
Krishna likes arrangement
because these people, they are always demonic and they want to hate the divine people. So Krishna Consciousness to put them into a womb where they can get birth again and continue their life of hatred.
This text is explaining Krishna's reciprocation of demoniac souls and their place in the
So ye yatha mam prapadante nam sathaiva bhajante. So the way in which people approach, the Lord reciprocates similarly by giving them the facility. He does not interfere with the free will. No? So again, the famous verse, Karmana deva netrena jantu deha upapatteya triya pravishta udaram pumsareta kanashvaya. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is not by chance that someone gets birth in a demonic family. It is because of previous samskaras that one gets birth in a demonic family. So wherever we are born, that's the right place where we should have been born. It's exactly dovetailing our natures and our karma. Now, these people are perpetually cast into the ocean. In one sense, the word perpetual means what? That means they have no hope. Then what gives them hope? What gives them hope? These people are called as Nityabal, eternally conditioned. So, when Lord Himself has said that they are perpetually cast into the ocean of birth and death, then how come, what is the chance for these people?
Only devotees
But the Lord has said, no?
Devotees means.
Okay, is anyone above the Lord?
devotees.
Yeah. Exactly, that's the point. So, so the only person who can save these people is the devotee. Because the devotees, the Lord's love for the devotee is higher than His own promises that He makes in the Bhagavad Gita. He can break His promises for the devotee. Okay. So therefore, it is the devotees who can save the demonic people. No, they may not have any, like for example, the hippies asked Srila Prabhupada, how come we are here, from drugs, we are now not even having onion and garlic. It's a huge sea change, from where they are to where they have come. What's our fortune? Prabhupada said, no, you didn't have any. I made your fortune for you. So, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Kripa Prasade Pai Bhaktivedanta VedaBase. So therefore, the compassionate Brahmahamsa comes and desires for these demons to be elevated from their miserable condition. And that's how they get delivered. Otherwise, the demons, even the desire to get delivered is cultivated. That's why when we say devotee cultivation. What do you mean by cultivation? Why do we say cultivation? Actually, you don't need to cultivate anyone, because Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition of the mind. Prabhupada writes in SSR, if you remember. So we don't need to cultivate. But we still use the word cultivate. Why? Because what we are trying to do is to, by doing whatever song and dance that we do in preaching, we are trying to generate a desire in their hearts to get out of the material world. Because they are not fed up of the material world. They genuinely are not. Somebody you are saying birth is order, he say, "Arey bhai, mujhe takleef nahi, why you are behind me?" No, spiritual world mein, there is no birth, but I don't have any problem with disease. तो आना ही है. Let's be positive. Why you people are negative always? Hare Krishna, always talking about disease. तो आना ही है. आपको नहीं आएगा क्या? You are chanting. मुझे भी आएगा. मुझे भी आ रहा. What is required is a positive attitude. Take life as it comes. No, that's how they will talk. So blah 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 blah. So that's how the conversation will go. So people generally are very used, comfortable. So they have to be. So obviously our preaching has to be as such. Now, even when we tell people about after death, if you don't follow hellish conditions, still people are not convinced. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, yeah, I remember read stories that I think in Upakyane Upadesh, if you read, I think the story is that somebody asks that what happens in hell, so in the lower planets. So he said it's all, there is no devotion, nothing, all kinds of demonic activities are going on there. So there is I can't even remember the story. I certainly can't remember the past time. But it's something like, the hellish planets, the suffering is projected in a way wherein this guy says, okay, he says that who goes to hell?
Father goes, mother goes.
So he says that people who drink, they go to hell. So who is it? They go to hell? And he says people who have illicit sex will go to hell. Oh, they will go to hell. Okay. People who have gambling, they will go to hell. And then people who eat meat will go to hell. So he says that's fantastic. Because all my friends will be there. I will have company in hell. So this is supposedly called as positive attitude. But obviously, so people will, even if you preach in this way also, some people are not convinced. They say that सब दोस्त मिलेंगे वहाँ पे. So, but if you tell them in the hellish planets there is no television. That's a nice way of preaching to modern day people. TV, no TV. Internet, no internet, no Facebook. Then you say like that, then they can connect. So we have to know how to connect to different kinds of demonic people. Because sometimes the punishment itself is not a deterrent or is not a motivator for them to pursue spiritual life. In fact, the laws of this material world also are very flimsy today. For example, it doesn't really punish the demonic adequately. Today's laws. I was reading in the news that there were two brothers who were arrested for cannibalization. You know what's cannibalization? No? Killing people and eating their bodies inside the cooking and eating people. That's cannibalization. So therefore they were caught. Now when they were caught, I don't know when it happened. At that time, that country did not have any law against cannibalization. Okay. I don't even know whether they killed or ate or whether they used to dig the dead bodies and then eat. Now, the person is already dead. So there was some confusion and he is okay punishment. If he is killed, okay, 3 not 2. But if you are not killed, if you are dug and then you are eating fresh dead bodies, then I am not killed. I am just cooking and eating. Anyway, it was buried. It's like, for example, if you take a chair outside which you don't want and keep it on the street, if somebody takes it, you can't say you are stealing. You kept outside, I took nature's strip mein rakha tha. Just like the body is kept there, so I am eating. So there was no law. Okay. So they are arrested and then released. So there is no law. Of course. Therefore, you need that book as a reference point, which gives a higher perspective around these things. Otherwise, you are only seeing, you killed. No, I didn't kill. Somebody, you are already dead. I just ate. You are eating animals, I am eating human beings. That's the only difference. But both are dead. If eating dead has to be jailed, then you should jail everyone who is eating meat. Correct? Only why human beings. Anyway, the family members also left there. Correct?
Perfect logic.
Huh?
Perfect logic.
Yeah. So this is the way demonic and divine will keep on clashing in this manner. Both these mentalities.
And if some person kills 2-3 people, he can be hanged only once. You can't hang that person more than once.
Correct.
So that's
That also another logic.
material laws are in it.
Correct. In Hindi movies we see, एक खून की सजा फांसी, 10 खून की सजा भी फांसी, and then the villain is laughing like that. But actually 10 खून की सजा 10 फांसी is something which he doesn't understand. Neither is the judge able to tell. 2 देश से भगवद गीता के ऊपर हाथ रख के कसम कहो, जो भी कहूँगा सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं. Nobody has opened the Bhagavad Gita that what is inside. Only it is used as a promising tool. That's all. But nobody has opened and seen that if you kill 10 times, then you have to come 10 times to get killed even in the next lifetime if you are a nice man. These people do not understand. So therefore, it can only happen if these demonic persons come under the purview of an enlightened soul. Otherwise, they are perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demonic life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. So Prabhupada writes that there are of course cases where demons are killed by the Lord. So Prabhupada says wherever demons are killed by the Lord, at least they are given liberation, impersonal liberation. They are given. Of course, impersonal liberation is not permanent. Again, they have to come down and then go up. There are, now this is very important verse, 21, 22, and 23, they are 24, they are very, very important verses.
Quick question on the in-person liberation. What about Putana? I mean, she also received the status of his mother because he went his mom, and then she was killed by Krishna. So did she receive in-person liberation or she went back to
She got a position as a servant maid.
as a?
Servant maid.
So she's gone back to spiritual.
Yeah, because she pleased the Lord in some way. That is why. She pleased the Lord in some way. There was some motherly sentiments that she developed when God was sucking her breast. Like that. So the Lord reciprocated for the small love. So he will see love and then he will reciprocate.
And what about the soldiers in Kurukshetra who died? What sort of liberation they will get?
Depends. Pandavas or Kauravas. Everything is depending on consciousness.
Yeah, but nature of Kshatriya, his nature is he cannot refuse to fight.
Yeah. So the question is, on the Kaurava side also people are fighting.
Yeah.
Right? On the Pandava side people are fighting. Can we say that on Kaurava side people are fighting, therefore they should go to hell? And on Pandava side people are fighting, they should go to heaven? Can we really say like that? We cannot say like that. Why? Because if you see from the Varnashrama Dharma angle, I was hearing a lecture of Govind Prabhu this week. He is saying actually the Kshatriya, real Kshatriya means his job is to fight. It doesn't matter who he is fighting for.
Yeah.
His dharma is to fight. Sometimes he is fighting this side, sometimes he is fighting that side. As long as he is fighting, he is doing his dharma, duty. He has to be loyal to the side in which he is fighting. And he has to die on the battlefield. That is the aspect of Varnashrama Dharma, he says. So now it is just possible that I am fighting, but I am not really attached. I don't really want to kill devotees of the Lord. I am just fighting, doing my duty as a Kshatriya. In which case then you get promoted to the heavenly planets. Because you have just fought. You are not fought with anger, you have fought out of duty.
So not the liberation, just promotion to heaven.
Yes. But on the Pandava side, if one fights thinking that it will please Krishna, then it will become akarma. But on the Pandava side also, if you are thinking that I am only fighting, there is no connection to Krishna, I am just fighting, I am doing my duty from a Varnashrama dharmic angle, if you see. So it is not the activity, it is the mood in which we do something that gives us the result, the end result. So that end result will differ based on what we are thinking always. That's why anta kalecha mameva smaran muktva kaleva. Smaran, it is a thinking which happens. Did I tell you this pastime of the two brothers? No, I didn't tell you. Okay, there are two brothers. I heard a recent pastime. There are two brothers. One was both of them wanted to go out. They had free time. So one brother said, "Chal satsang mein jate hain. Let's go to the satsang." So because Bhagavatam class is going on, let's go there. Another fellow said, "No, yaar, I want to enjoy. So I want to go to a prostitute." And then they went there different ways. And then what happened? This fellow went to the satsang. He was hearing that fellow was in the prostitute's place, right? And somehow it happened that at that time both of them died in their respective places. So what happened? The fellow who was visiting the prostitute, what happened to him?
He went to spiritual world.
He went to the spiritual world. The fellow who was Bhagavatam class, he had to go down.
He was thinking about that.
Correct. So that fellow who went to the prostitute, he was thinking, I should have listened to my brother. See how nice, where am I? I'm in this dirty place, what am I doing, but I'm not able to control myself, but it's really bad. How nice it would have been had I heard his advice and been there. How fortunate he is that he is able to, sit. And this fellow in the Bhagavatam class is thinking, क्या भागवत क्लास चल रहा है 14.5 उधर वो ऐश कर रहा है बैठ के. He is thinking like that about him. He is saying that he is enjoying with the woman there. What I am doing here, sitting and then just hearing. So then this is what it is. We can be inside somewhere, but our smaran can be completely elsewhere. Like that. Even when we are offering to the Lord, Namo Maha Adanyaya, what is our mood always? We think. Many times I offer like that and I am thinking that I didn't offer today. कभी कभी तो याद भी नहीं रहता है ऑफर फूड ऑफर हुआ क्या हाँ आई थिंक किया लगता है ना व्हाट इज दिस नमो महादाय so the Lord is only accepting the mood. It's very simple. Actually in our own lives we can see it. It's very easy to see it. I call you home. What's your favorite dish? Anything? Salad. What's your favorite dish? My favorite. Okay, whatever. Suppose your favorite apple.
Broccoli soup.
Appam. I think you are trying to pull my leg by giving these examples. Okay. So let's say salad. I prepare nice salad, first class, and then I come and just slide it there. I just give it a push. Suppose I tell like that. Prabhu, salad. I invite you to my house. Prabhu, salad. Namo Maha Adanyaya Krishna Premapadaya Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Swami. Khana rakha hai. Namo Maha Adanyaya. So what is the mood? So he is also saying the same thing now. Whatever I did with you, we are doing with the deities. Because deities don't speak to us. So it's very impersonal. Just go on. Ghadi dekh ke half the time we are on the clock. Time is less to go to work. Mantra become faster. So therefore it is smaran, it is smaran, it is smaran. All the time. It is what we think and the quality of our thinking. That will beget us. That way we enter the Krishna Leela seamlessly. Whatever we are thinking, udhar hi jate hain hum log. Next lifetime. So that is why it is important to keep our mind always filled with thoughts of Krishna. Wherever we are. They may be at workplace, anywhere. कभी कभी फुर्सत मिलता है between meetings, think of the Lord. We have to try our best. What can we do? Because death can come any time.
In the Bhagavad, it said that because Kurukshetra was such a holy place, everybody, all the soldiers who fought and died, before the Bhagavad started, only Krishna says that anyone who leaves the body will go to the heavenly planets, which also eventually applied to the Kauravas, although they fought with a demonic mentality. Because they were fighting more for their country and they left the body in a holy place. It is said in one of the Mamas. They also ultimately got heaven.
Prabhu, I also heard about this Putna thing. Apparently in Putna there was two jivas. One is Urvashi was cursed, I think. So Urvashi goes to heavenly planet. And there was one Adama jiva there, she goes to Tamasa or something like that. So two jivas there in Putna body. So Urvashi or some Apsaras who was cursed to be born as she gets liberated.
So it's also said that I don't know which. Where did you hear?
I think when I was kid, my father must have told somewhere. So
Tatpara Nirnaya.
I think so. Yeah.
Madhvacharya, because that is a bona fide source. Tatpara Nirnaya is a bona fide source. So you have to ask him again. Be very good. Because it's been long time since
he asked dad. I remember when we were kid. So he said, no, Putna, just because Putna is liberated, doesn't mean that there are two jivas inside Putna body. One is Ashuri, she goes to Andantamas, catch up with Duryodhana. Another one goes to heavenly planet and Vaikuntha, that is Urvashi or some Apsara, I don't know.
Okay. So in the Bhagavatam, what the verses there, Aho Bhakiyam, Stanakala Gutam. If you see that verse, it is mentioned there that she got the position of a mother. She got a position of a servant in Yashoda mother's place. So that is what we have heard from the Bhagavatam. Okay? So there can be many aspects because the spiritual truths, there cannot be one truth. Again, Govind Prabhu's lecture I am quoting, he said that there is always not only one thing. There can be multiple ways in which the same Leela can happen in different universes. So we cannot say that if it is this way, that's the only way. So that's how we reconcile spiritual differences. But all we have to know is that whether it's a bona fide commentator. So if it is Srila Madhvacharya, it's Tatpara Nirnaya, then yes, it is a bona fide commentary. And since it's coming from a Madhva Sampradaya, it is bona fide, undoubtedly.
So in that example that you quoted about the prostitute and the person visiting the holy people of the place, does that repentance
Key.
Key to what?
Key.
Thank you. Sorry, what was it?
So probably in that example, the prostitute example that you were quoting, you were saying that the person who was visiting the prostitute, he went to back to spiritual.
It's just a story, it's not from Bhagavad. So just to illustrate a point.
So my question is, just the mere repentance, can that lead to spiritual world, or do you need to have the remembrance of the Lord at that point in time?
So there are three things, you can go in Prabhu's lecture. Repentance, rectification and remembrance. All three.
But the person who's at his deathbed, he's on the deathbed, may not be able to rectify anything. It may be just the repentance. Would just the repentance lead the person to go back?
Yeah, if sometimes sincere repentance is there, then if the person hasn't had the opportunity to rectify, either he will be, it's again depending on, see, you cannot put karma in a formula. If the Lord believes that no, it's okay, he is sincerely repenting, then he can pardon if he wants to. We cannot put the Lord's decision making into an algorithm and see it can't. So yes, it may be possible, but for us, we have been advised that repentance should be followed by rectification. Otherwise, it's like saying sorry. Like that. It's like people go to the church and then they confess. Oh, I sinned. Again they are going again. Again next week again.
Monday to Saturday.
Monday to Saturday. So it's like the elephant's bathing. That is not. So once or twice, the Lord will permit. But third time, that's it. Enough is enough. But it is possible that if a person repents sincerely, if he hasn't had the opportunity,
At least for sure, he'll be getting a second chance.
Yeah, maybe he'll give a second chance. Or if the Lord wants, he can grant causeless mercy on anybody. A devotee may recommend that person for other services, which thousands of other services that person must have done. Sometimes we will see that even great sannyasis fall down. We have seen that even in ISKCON we have seen. Okay, does it mean that they will be cast into the burning oil? Obviously not. The sannyasis, they have given their whole life for Prabhupada. They have served Srila Prabhupada very sincerely. And they have had a temporary accidental fall down. So it happens. It can happen to anyone. Right? But see the glorious life that they have led all their lives. So a neophyte mentality will criticize them and say that sannyasi hoke bhi aisa kiya. Other person will say how difficult it must have been. Still he has been a sannyasi for all of us, but somehow it's so sad that now is the time for us to help him. That is a devotee's mentality. A neophyte mentality is blaming and criticizing how sannyasis can fall down. So it depends. Now if a sannyasi falls down like that, then what happens? Sannyasi will repent. Obviously, the person will repent. Anyone in Krishna consciousness who falls down is bound to repent. It may be a helpless situation. Maybe the Maya must have given a test. Sometimes you fail in tests also. Not all tests we pass in life. And the more progress we make, the tougher the tests are going to be. So we cannot say. We don't know what tests we are going to get tomorrow. Whether we will pass, we will fail, we don't know. So most of the tests they passed. Maybe in one occasion the sannyasi failed that test. But if the person is repentant, then the person will come back again. They will try to rectify. But if they are not in this lifetime, then it doesn't mean Lord is going to forget whatever they have done. Because at the end of the day, we have to understand, let's say this sannyasi who has pleased Srila Prabhupada and then who has fallen down, there will be obviously credit given to the fact that they have served Srila Prabhupada, a saintly personality. So the person will get another opportunity in the next lifetime to get back into devotional life. Maybe from childhood itself they will become very pure devotees. So Neha Vikramana Sushi, there is no loss or diminution in devotional life. So verses 21, 22-23 talk about very important aspects, very often discussed verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Verse 21. There are 3 gates leading to hell. Sure shot, if we want to go to hell, these are the gates we need to take. In an airport, after our boarding pass, we are told, no, gate number 21, gate number 20. So different gates will lead us to different destinations. Or same destination, different airline, also different gate. That is also possible. So don't argue with me logically. But of course, depends. No? Some airlines, different destination. Okay. There are 3 gates leading to this hell. Okay. What are the 3 gates? The gate of lust, anger and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Dhamma Prabhu, you want to read? Proudly,
The beginning of demonic life is described here. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. The sane man who does not want to lie down to the species of demonic life must try to give up these 3 enemies who can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement.
What are the points here? So where does everything start?
Lust.
You have seen that movie? Shah Rukh Khan, what is the movie? Kaka Kaka Kiran. When I read this, I remembered that only. How he starts as actually as a reasonably good fellow, but then because he's so lusty about this woman, then last he ends up almost like a murderer towards the end of his life. So that is how lust is so powerful, and we have seen. In fact, even as I said last time, even from movies we learn so many things. They portray the hero who is a nice person, and then because of this, the person becomes demon, just because of this lust. It can destroy all the good qualities of somebody. Sorry. First you have to. What are the points here? No points?
Relates to the another words what we, I don't know which chapter earlier. There, lust is the source of problem, beating.
Correct.
Kamayesha.
Because we're contemplating on the object of senses, that's why we develop lust. That vision.
So Lord Krishna says, he orders every sane person to give up lust, anger and greed. These 3 items, we will always lag in spiritual life. Always remember this, we'll progress or we'll lag. We'll lag. L for lust, A for anger, G for greed. We'll lag. So you remember this, you remember. In spiritual life. So, these qualities, it is mentioned, they are so vicious that even one who possesses a divine nature should fear them. We can never take for granted in our life that we will be never attracted to the opposite sex. Anyone has the confidence in this room? 100%. Prabhuji, never I'll get agitated. I'm happily married. I'll never get agitated. Very difficult. It's possible, people may be there like that, but we cannot guarantee. Because the moment we say that Prabhuji, abhi to reasonably, I will not fall down, then what happens? Krishna will say, oh, achha. You are falling down. Arey, Lord Shiva is running after Mohini. It is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. He is discharging semen and he is running behind. Like that. So, the Lord is, Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Lord is teaching us through Lord Shiva, and you know where Lord Shiva is running? The Lord takes him to the places where sages are meditating on Lord Shiva. Who are Shiva Bhaktas. So his Lord is making Shiva run behind him in full observation of the sages. Not to insult Lord Shiva, but to teach the sages that if Lord Shiva can be bewildered by me, don't take your advancement for granted. We cannot. So always we have to fear this particular aspect. It can come anytime. It is just one click away, lust nowadays on the internet, right? So we are living in very dangerous times. Not only for us, for our children, we are living in extremely dangerous times. And even if you don't have to go to the internet also, you sit in the tram, you are nicely hearing lecture, some couple comes in front and then starting. Nothing. You are thinking, are they in the tram or are they, they have forgotten that they are in public place. You are thinking like that. And then what happens? The mind captures that snap. So negativity needs darkness for reproduction. So if the mind is full of darkness, then these images are nicely processed. The photo film always in the dark. No? So these images are, the camera takes that snapshot, in the darkness of the mind it is processed. And those images then are stored in the hard disk for future use. This is what happened to Ajamil. Right? Ajamil was actually not a bad person. He was walking. He saw, whatever we see in tram, Ajamil at least saw in the forest. Today we are seeing in the tram only. Correct? So then he saw and then Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsan. Again, meditating. Oh my goodness, that was not bad. Like that. This is what happens. So this is big problem. So nobody can take this particular challenge for granted. It is mentioned by Gurujan Prabhu here that for a man, a woman personifies lust. Because she is able to gratify all his senses. So when this lust is unsatisfied, then what? Anger is born, which is also happened in that movie which I told before. He gets angry because he cannot enjoy this lady. And then he tries to kill. Recently in the news, there was this headline with a video also of a dead body in Uttar Pradesh. The man goes, he tries to molest this girl, and because she resisted, he strangulates her and then he is walking fully. And then people have beaten him, of course. They caught him and then they beat him. And then now he is in the police. But it is happening daily, we are seeing. Daily we are seeing in the news. Okay? Every day. Have you seen one day when this is not there? Daily we are seeing this in the news. If you are reading the news, I suggest you don't. But of course, if you want to, for some practical purpose, then you will see that this is what is happening. Daily something is there. So this is called as, when lust is not satisfied, then kill. Like that. So this anger is very difficult to control. If desires are not checked at the root, Jad se, at the very root, if desires are not checked, or if the desires are not fulfilled, then it is a dangerous situation. Now one may ask, okay, चलो desire fulfill नहीं हुआ है, इसके लिए I am feeling anger. So then overcome by fulfilling the desire. Correct? Overcome by fulfilling the desire. So what is wrong in that? That is also explained. It is mentioned that even if they are fulfilled without any hindrances, even if the lust is fulfilled without any hindrances, if it's not fulfilled, one gets angry. But even if it's fulfilled without any obstacles, do we become peaceful? No. Because if lust doesn't lead to anger, lust which is not fulfilled leads to anger. But lust which is fulfilled leads to
lust,
greed. Ye dil mange more. Correct, no?
Correct.
That's what it is. This will never ask less. Once you are enjoying, then one always wants to enjoy more and more of it. So Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, enjoying material desires is like pouring fuel, not like pouring water. If you pour water, वो बुझ जाएगा ना, fuel डालेगा तो कहाँ से बुझने वाला? It's going to further over. So therefore, greed takes over, and greed leads to moha or illusion and loss of discrimination. Then we lose our sense of discrimination when we become greedy. कुछ भी करके now I want to enjoy more and more and more and more and more. Because we are getting used to that. We are getting addicted to our senses demanding, and the free will is being used to always fulfill the demands of the senses on the spot. I want now and I will have now. It's like that. So this kind of mentality, it will lead us gradually down, down, down. And then we will gradually lose our sense of discrimination. It's a very bad situation to be in. And when, after greed, still, we are still continuing to fulfill our desires, greed after greed, but still keeping on fulfilling, then comes intoxication of pride, mad. Just see, look, there go, how I am able to enjoy. It's called as pride. And a mixture of all these 5 qualities is envy or matsara. Envy manifests fully.
You have just said 4. What is the 4th?
I said
pride.
Lag 3.
Pride.
I said
pride.
Moha and mad. Pride. Lust, anger, envy, greed.
Pride.
Yeah. So did I say 4? Yeah. The mixture of all these 4 actually.
4.
Yeah. Is envy. The 5th one is envy.
Envy. Okay.
Yeah. Lust, anger, envy, greed, pride. But illusion is also kept. Sometimes illusion is also put inside. But all this leads to envy. Envy means what? Nobody else should enjoy, only I should enjoy. I cannot tolerate you also enjoying. First we want enjoyment, unrestricted enjoyment. Then we become greedy. But after that, as we are able to enjoy, we also don't want others to enjoy. And we cannot tolerate others enjoying, even in material life.
After we stop enjoying.
When we are enjoying more and more, we still don't want others to enjoy.
So what's the difference between envy and jealousy?
Envy and jealousy. Simple example I give you. Jealousy means I want what you have. You are having, I don't have. I am feeling jealous of you. Envy means I cannot have, therefore you should not have. Does it make sense? For example, if you have a nice car, you have a nice, let's say, Chevrolet car. Chevrolet, what car? Some car. It's a Porsche car. Okay, let's say you have. I am driving the Toyota, Camry. Okay. So then I say, just car. Yeah, तो बड़ा साफ है. उसके पास तो he's having Porsche car. उसको क्या है? ऐसा है ना. कहाँ कमाता है, कहाँ क्या मालूम. Then you start, that means you are jealous that he is having that. क्या कमाता है, 2 नंबर का करता है. This is typical conversation, no? क्या करता है, कैसा कमाया, क्या मालूम. People cannot tolerate, So there is something. But अपना पास भी होना चाहिए वो. You should also have. तुम भी कुछ करो ना जी. The wife is prodding. हैं जी, आप भी करो. Like that. So that is called. There is some jealousy. उसके पास है, अपने पास भी होना चाहिए. And I am not very happy that. But envy is worse. Envy means हमारे पास इधर कुछ नहीं है. He is driving Porsche. May his Porsche get crushed. That is called as envy. Which means it's not so important that I have what you have, but it's important that whatever I don't have, you should not have. Are you able to relate or not? Envy, may the focus is that you should not be happy. Jealousy, may I also want your happiness. But envy, may I don't want you to be happy. That is the problem. Therefore, envy is more dangerous. Jealousy, in one sense, yes, you do something and you buy that Porsche. But envy means even if I have a Porsche, you should not have one. How dare you have one that I have? So then I hope that something goes wrong with your car and you don't have that anymore. Even if I have. So that is why this is the problem. So even if you are greedy, even if you are enjoying fully, then what happens? Because of that pride comes, and from pride after that envy also manifests. But I should be the only one then who should have all these happiness. Nobody else should have. So that then everyone is always looking up to me for everything. It's a very
more and more lust getting satisfied, that leads to pride. That makes sense.
Greed.
No, greed, okay. And again, if that is more and more, it will lead to pride as well.
It will lead to illusion, it will lead to pride.
Right. And one which you are saying is, again, it will lead to envy as well. I'm not able to actually correlate, or logically, I don't know.
Yeah, logically, we are not able to correlate. For example, I gave a simple example here, but I'll try one
No,
more
no,
example.
no. I mean, I could understand the meaning of envy.
Yeah.
What I'm not able to understand is,
See, I want to be the enjoyer.
you are enjoying more and more.
I am enjoying more and more, and as I am enjoying more and more, I want to enjoy more and more. So I am greedy. So I am trying to obtain everything for myself to such an extent that even if I have everything for myself, in one sense I am trying to be greedy, but later on, only I want to be the enjoyer. I don't want others to be the enjoyers. Does it make sense? I want everything, and only I should have everything. Others should not. That is called as envy. Does it make sense? Yeah. That's what I was trying to explain.
Okay. Sure.
That is called as envy. So gradually one will come to that point. They cannot tolerate others having anything, any kind of enjoyment. That is why you see many times demonic rulers who are letting all the subjects suffering, rotting, and then they are living in big palaces. Even in a poor country, you see some people are living very opulently. Again, communism is one form of that. Where the leaders, they will say everything equal distribution, but at the end of the day, the wealthiest people will be the top leaders, whereas the common man will be suffering. Like that. This is envy. That only I want to enjoy. Others should not have what I have. Not that I will also enjoy, you also enjoy. Not like that. So these are all demonic qualities which are rooted in lust. It all starts from lust. Prabhupada says, lust is the genesis of everything, the origin of everything. The whole world is running on the mithuni bhav. Pumsastriya mithuni bhava meta. So everything is running on this attraction between man and woman. Whole industry is running on attraction between man and woman. So one may say, how does one benefit by avoiding this? If one avoids all these negative qualities, how does one benefit? The Lord says in verse 22, the man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. Mahesh Prabhu, super fast.
One should be very careful of these three enemies to human life: lust, anger and greed. The more a person is freed from lust, anger and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoined in the Vedic literature. By following the regulative principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one is so fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna Consciousness, then success is guaranteed for him. In the Vedic literature, the ways of action and reaction are described to enable one to come to the stage of purification. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed and anger. By cultivating knowledge of this process, one can be elevated to the highest position of self-realization. This self-realization is perfected in devotional service. In that devotional service, the liberation of the conditioned soul is guaranteed. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, there are instituted the four orders of life and the four statuses of life called the caste system and the spiritual order system. There are different rules and regulations for different castes or divisions of society, and if a person is able to follow them, he will automatically rise to the highest platform of spiritual realization. Then he can have liberation without a doubt.
What are the points here?
Varnashrama dharma is the basis to start practicing. Varnashrama dharma is the basis.
Yeah.
So unless one is free from lust, anger and greed, it's very difficult to follow the Vedic rules and regulations.
Says that in devotional service, liberation is guaranteed.
Mind control is required, or discipline is required, because without controlling these three things, a person is not going to get anywhere. Even the devotional process will not start, nothing will start. So that discipline is required to start. Because at the very start it's saying that one should be very careful of these three enemies.
Yes.
Without, if one is already, if one is not trying to come out of these, then there is no chance.
Yeah. So, see, when you read the statements, you have to be careful. When you read or when you make these statements, that devotional life cannot start till you are free of sins. Is it correct? Yes, it is correct. No. Unless you are sinless,
No, that's not the
No.
That's a process of purifying. After service.
Okay, so that's exactly that. This is where no and yes will come. That's why I raised this point. Okay, how do you understand? It's very simple. Okay, when does devotional life begin? There are two ways of answering. When we start chanting, when we start following Navavida Bhakti. Correct, no?
When does that
That is practicing.
That is the answer. Okay. So that is why what we are doing is what?
Practicing.
There are three types of devotion, and we will do it in Nectar of Devotion. There are three types of bhakti. One is sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and prema bhakti. So, to actually worship Radha and Krishna, one must be completely free from sex desire. We cannot approach Radharani. It's the highest worship. Can we go to Golok Vrindavan with all this baggage? No, we cannot. So, and then real devotional service begins where? There, in our spiritual Siddha Deha. Right? To serve. So, in that sense, devotional service cannot begin till all this is out. But devotional service, that is Prema Bhakti cannot begin. But Sadhana Bhakti can begin. Sadhana Bhakti doesn't need any qualification. So, we have to understand that way. Does it make sense or no? Yes. So, does it answer your questions now? No.
Getting your point, basically you're saying when it's talking about devotional services, it's the plain bhav level or plain?
Any of those. Almost the same. Bhavati and Prema Bhakti both are same.
But even before that, even at the sadhana level, something happens because even to start sadhana level, something is required. Everybody is suffering from these three.
To start sadhana bhakti, Shraddha is required. That's all. Nothing else is required. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asati, Bhava and Prema. So it's Shraddha is required. And that is why it's an interesting point. Because the next chapter is all about Shraddha. The divisions of faith. You are not convinced?
I'm convinced, just trying to understand because every human being sort of almost everyone is born with these five defects. Pride,
Yes.
anger, greed, and lust.
Correct.
So when a person is born with this already suffering from these things, there is no exception as such. Generally.
Generally, yes.
Generally there is no exception.
Yeah.
So when we are already suffering, it's saying there is no chance to start anything. So how does this sadhana bhakti start? What triggers it? Is this some mercy of other devotees or
Yes.
something that we call a Gyasukriti that triggers it? But how
Depends, no? It depends. It depends. See, you have answered actually most of the question. You yourself answered. It can start with Bhakti, it can start because of Gyasukriti, it can start because of Bhakti Unmukhi Shukriti, or it can be the causeless mercy of a Vaishnava, where I never did anything. Neither I did devotional life in my past, neither did I do devotional service in my past lifetime, so I don't have any Bhakti Unmukhi Shukriti. Neither did I dig a well from where a devotee has drunk water, so I have not got Agrasa Shukriti. I don't have any qualifications. But Prabhupada made their qualifications. What do you mean by made your qualifications? Kuch bhi nahi tha. Because he desired that you become a devotee. Simple. See, again, please understand. Since now you are preaching, you will understand. If you are a preacher, then you will understand that sometimes लोगों की तकदीर बनाते हो. Because because of your desire that this person becomes a devotee, then that person becomes a devotee. You will see. Even in our own lives, of course, we are not Paramahamsas, neither can we take credit for it, but sometimes the Lord empowers our sincere desire to serve our spiritual master. And our spiritual master also empowers us. Because of that, we are able to be an instrument in that service. But if you see, किसी के पीछे हम लोग पड़ जाते हैं, वो भक्त बन के रहना चाहिए. Of course, we do the right techniques, not fanaticism. So we are with them during their thick, we are there during their thin, and then they develop a strong bonding with us, and then they come and become devotees, like that. So, Madhurya Kadambini also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in the first shower, the first chapter of Madhurya Kadambini, he says that the desire of bhakti comes to a devotee because of the bhakti of another devotee. So, the bhakti inside the heart of one devotee is the reason for bhakti in the heart of another devotee, who this devotee is cultivating. Like that. And which Krishna does not interfere with. Because the Lord is always okay, my devotee wants to deliver him, so I will not come in his way.
It looks like association.
Huh?
Association.
So association.
Momentarily
Pardon?
It may be one momentarily association.
It may be momentary association, yeah.
Person in bhakti
Yeah.
qualities.
So can we say that the person, suppose hypothetically a person has not started chanting, but he is associating with devotees. Is he a bhakta? Can we say with person?
He's a new Prakrita Bhakta, what do you call it? Neophyte. Yeah, you can say if the person is associating with devotees, his bhakti has started in that sense. Because Shraddha is there, Sadhu Sangha has started, eventually Bhajana Kriya will come.
What happens when somebody is doing Radhi Sadhana Bhakti and these three things are also there at the same time because they are not one? Which one is more powerful? I know Bhakti is powerful, just want to understand how does it reduces these three things?
What is your question? How does bhakti reduce lust, anger, greed?
Yeah, these three things, how are they controlled in a person who is doing Radhi Sadhana?
See, lust comes because of what? Because on the mind, na? These are the actions of the mind, right? So mantra means what? That which delivers the mind. So through mantra, then we can deliver the mind from lust.
Bhakti gives higher taste, therefore you give up later.
That is also very good. Yeah. Bhakti gives you a higher taste. Param drishtva nivartate. Right? Then the lower taste will automatically go away. It's not so easy, but
basically mantra is that makes clear to understand and explain that.
see, I'll tell you. Sometimes we understand. Maybe I am trying to read your mind now. Okay? We understand these things theoretically, but बैठता नहीं है ना. Am I communicating with you?
अंदर से वो फाइट चलता है.
हाँ चलता रहता है ना. Correct. वो क्यों होता है वो? I also have the same problem. Many times you can give a fantastic class, but still inside our heart, we are telling things. It's like saying, see, one must be very loyal, always truthful, we must always act with full integrity in life, etc., etc. We can give all these classes very nicely, right? But then we can thinking, तू बनना फिर, कौन stop कर रहा है? इतना लोगों को तो बोला अभी, truthful रहने का लाने. We can give classes where we can say, Prabhuji, the essence is attentive chanting. Are you doing? I'm asking myself. You can ask me, Prabhu, are you doing attentive chanting? अगर आपको इतना conviction है, तो आप करते हो क्या attentive chanting? Something like that. No? So many times all these things, this lust, anger, envy, the science is there. We are understanding from the realized devotees. This Shastra is coming to us. But we will start getting realization that yes, this is true only when we put sincere effort at it. Most of time we are completing 16 rounds. When are we chanting? Correct? No? Let's be honest. I mean, some of you may be here who are very good chanters. Personally, I am not. I am not a great chanter. We managed to complete 16 rounds. Some days, yes, attentive chanting. Some days, no. Generally, when things are bad, then chanting is good. But things are good, then chanting is bad. Correct, no? When something is, some calamity is befalling, some doctor is saying medical test report आ रहा है, कुछ अच्छा नहीं दिख समझ रहा, right? Or when there is when the news comes, Australia में recession is coming, jobs are going to go now. Hare Krishna, this material world is so uncertain. I don't want to take birth in this material world. I don't know why I married. क्या uncertainty है? And then after 2 days, then what happens? Australian economy revives. The jobs are getting generated. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. क्या हो रहा है भाई? चलो गए वापस अपना multitasking and doing chanting and browsing internet and chanting, driving and chanting, talking and chanting, watching television and chanting, dreaming about something else and chanting. चालू होता है वापस. अभी लाइफ अभी वापस comfortable हो गया. Again next danger has to come. Oh, this material world is not working. This is the problem with us. Because we are doing like this, not Dama Dol we say in Hindi. Chanting क्या है? Dama Dol it is. Okay. Because we are not following the process properly. तो फल भी ऐसे आएगा ना. Correct. जितना जैसा बीज बोओगे वैसा फल आएगा बाहर. So to the extent we invest in this process, to the extent the process will give us back. To the extent the process gives us back will be the extent to which we will be convinced about the process and be happy. When we do sincerely, then process will give results. When it gives results, we will get faith. Not only faith, we will get happiness also. We are not getting that happiness out of this. थोड़ा फिर भी ऐसा, सच में क्या जाता है कैसे? Like that. Why? Because we are not following the process. We are in a cycle. We are caught in a cyclical loop where we can't help ourselves. So the only thing we have to do, we have to say, damn it, from tomorrow I will do attentive chanting. Day after tomorrow जाएगा. Then we say, damn it, अभी कल से. This is how it is going to be in our lives. Do you think anything is going to be different? Tomorrow will always come. Sidney Sheldon said, tomorrow, what is it? If tomorrow comes or never comes. Somebody said, tomorrow never comes. But for us, tomorrow always comes. Because we have to be hopeful. We have to be hopeful that, and we have to continue saying that, okay. Purujan Prabhu said, forget the past rounds. Don't, when you are chanting the third round, don't think that, yaar, 3 round, I didn't chant attentively. Because now you are missing the 4th round, thinking about that. Neither congratulate yourself in the 5th round, that 4th round, kitna mast gaya. Now you are losing the 5th round. So live in the present. So we only have control over the future. We don't have control over the past. So every day we have to say this to ourselves. That look, from today I can control the future. ठीक है, प्रॉमिस किया था अटेंटिव चैंटिंग 2 साल पहले, नहीं हुआ, अभी क्या करूँ, नहीं हुआ तो नहीं हुआ, अभी आगे से तो कर सकता हूँ. And then obviously try to do that. Continuously we have to have dialogues with our mind. That is why Raghunath Das Goswami, if you read Manas Shiksha, he is having dialogues with the mind. Same thing Premnidhi Prabhu advised me few years back. He said, you must talk to your mind. Keep talking to your mind. क्या हो गया भाई? So the parents are not supervising the children. One parent will be there, no, with the child.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. Nothing much. Okay. So what was he saying? I lost my thread.
Manas Shiksha.
In Manas Shiksha, Premnidhi Prabhu also told the same thing a few years back. He said, have conversations with your mind. That day I asked one devotee, what do you do on, was it you? After a few attempts, then you came to the, so you told me something which I liked. So yeah, कुछ ना introspection. That's very good actually. Lot of time we should spend in introspection. हम लोग ना करने में इतना लगे होते हैं, सोचते नहीं हम लोग ज़्यादा. Just sit silently and think. Okay, what are my anarthas now? Just take a notebook and write. ये मेरा problem.
Notebook will not be enough.
Notebook will not be enough. Okay. So first write it down. Just spend time with yourself, your mind. ठीक है, मेरा mind, मन क्या चाहे? मेरा मन. हाँ? So ask that man, boss तेरे को चाहिए क्या? Right? And you will get a lot of answers from that. You may also get answers saying that boss देख, आज ना थोड़ा मजा भी करना चाहिए लाइफ में. तू अपने आप को बहुत फोर्स कर रहा है, प्योर डिवोटी बनने के चक्कर में. बट तू कुछ नहीं है उसमें. तेरे को खेलना है, क्रिकेट देखना है तो देखना. The mind is telling that, see, you like it. You first. So have chats with the mind. Have that conversation. Understand, we have to understand. I don't know whether I'm communicating. I hope that I'm communicating to you all. But we will know what we are if we talk to our mind. If we don't talk to our mind, devotees तो कुछ भी बोलेगा. अरे प्रभु जी यार आप तो प्रभु धन्य हो. They will tell like that. That's why Govind Prabhu gave that classic lecture last week I heard. He said there is a difference between character and reputation. He said character is what you are and reputation is what people think you are. So we can have fantastic reputation in the congregation where everybody thinks अरे senior devotee है क्या ideal गृहस्था है. But we don't want to. So we have to meditate. Sit अकेले बैठ के शांति में सोचने का. ठीक है बस अभी मैं क्या है अभी आया इधर बस प्रॉब्लम है अभी लाइफ में. Right? So we have to spend that time with us. Because only when we are truthful, when we listen, when we start thinking like this, where I am, what are my anarthas, मुझे क्या चाहिए, then we can formulate a strategy of where to go. If I don't know where I am, then I cannot know where I should go. GPS में वो डालता है ना, where you are and where you want to go. GPS works on that only, where you are and where you want to go. तो दोनों चाहिए. So it's very important to understand where we are, and for that we should spend time with our mind. Very, very important. Yeah. Okay, I saw his hand first, so I will give him first.
Well, you mentioned that the spiritual life begins, or the spiritual progress depends on the quality that we put in the sadhana. But sometimes, not sometimes, most of the times, what happens is that that desire to even put in that hard work into that doesn't come, because you see your mind again tells you that bade
dil hai ke manta nahi,
hum kahan chale hain. So sometimes the mind says that even the big people have not been able to reach there, so who am I?
Who am I ne? तो मैं भी चलेगा. Even I have had the same thought. ठीक है हमारा लोग भी कुछ इतना भी है नहीं हो रहा यार. तो क्या थोड़ा अपन भी कर लेंगे तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है? It's not that who am I. It's not humility. It's not that who am I when Maharajas are falling down. ऐसा नहीं है. They are falling down तो मैं 2 बार गिरा तो क्या प्रॉब्लम? You know that it's different. It is different. The way we think is different. I don't know what you think, but I think like this. मैं ऐसा सोचता हूँ. Maharaj, that is glorious. If you think like that, when Maharajas can fall, who am I? Let me continue chanting seriously, but never ever take my chanting for granted. That will take us to progress. Other is, वो राजू उसका वो तो इनिशियल डिवोटी है. उस दिन तो उसको देखा मैं वड़ा पाव खा रहा था रोड में. तो हम लोग एक बार पानी पूरी खा ले तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है? This is almost like that mentality. You know what I mean? This is different. And वो तो उसको तो ब्राह्मण इनिशिएशन है.
What is the solution?
Solution is very easy. You know what is the solution? You tell me, what is the solution?
We don't need to compare.
Identify devotees who are more serious than us and associate with them. That is the solution. There is no other solution. No other solution. Take shelter of a devotee who is more advanced than us. Always we have to do it in our way. And if we come up to that devotee's level and that devotee is not progressing, then go further.
But do we need to
compare
with someone else?
And the more intimate association brings problem also. Because the more you get to know about someone, the more you see the other things that. Correct. Yeah, and then you say, "Arey, ye to maan nahi hai."
So, good point. Good point. But the answer is, in ISKCON, how many Diksha Gurus you can have?
Many.
शिक्षा गुरु कितना? तो क्यों है ना, बहुत लोग हैं. तो एक के साथ अगर आपका ओवर फेमिलियरिटी हो गया है और whoever is your शिक्षा गुरु, if you find that person is not up to tomorrow, go to another person. No, कमी थोड़ी ना है. For example, Govind Prabhu was here just now. Can't we learn from him? Can't we take him his example and progress? He is miles anyway, many years, many lifetimes probably ahead of at least, and I am seeing him many lifetimes. So even if I another 10 janmas, I may not be able to come to that platform. So for me there is enough to work on simply by following this person. That is why the daily confidential hearing which we are discussing. Daily confidential hearing will make us realize, okay, I have long way, like that. So keep hearing. Hearing is very powerful. Without hearing, no progress in spiritual life.
Prabhu, in my family, without naming, people think they have progressed, but they are full having anger, shouting, yelling. So what do we?
Anger doesn't mean a devotee is not progressing. If the anger is for spiritual anger, not for material.
Material anger. So
what is the question?
People think they have progressed, but they are ridiculing others, saying you have not progressed, you are like this. So how do we deal?
We should say thank you. That person is your friend. If someone tells you are not progressing, that person is your friend then. The moment someone tells you, Prabhu, आप तो प्रभु यार, बस आपका हाथ रहे मेरा सर में हमेशा, then you know that this person is, Maya is coming now. If you have an authority to correct them, then you can correct them. But if you don't have authority, don't correct them. If you don't have authority, just move out of the way. That's it. Gurujan Prabhu also told a few years back, I think in one of the private conversations, said if you don't have an authority to correct someone, don't correct someone. किसी के क्यों किसी के पंगे में जाने के? We have our own unearthas to deal with. We have our own activities. So why we have to go out and we are not Robin Hood. We are not given the job of changing everyone in this world. So we are only dealing within restricted relationships. That's all. So all of us must identify our restricted relationships. It's very important to be happy in spiritual life. Don't forget the principle. We have discussed enough in this class on restricted relationships. Please remember that principle. 10 marks less in the exam. 15 marks, sorry. 15 marks. Okay, I'm just joking. So remember this principle. Everyone remembers restricted relationships. Anyone doesn't know restricted relationships? Everyone knows?
Got a question. It's very simple only. Probably on top of all these things, right? When you said take a notebook and write down all your anattas, speak your mind from the Manasiksha context, and you write down all the things what you need. Sometimes you also feel that the mind is also giving you false information. Actually, you need some other thing which is actually like going out.
It's not a one-day exercise. It's a lifetime exercise. Keep talking. That's why I said keep talking. I didn't say talk once in a while. On special holidays, it's not like that. You have to keep talking to them. You have to keep talking to them. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? See, many times I'll tell you, especially talking to your mind is most important. When we go through the Bura Lag Gaya syndrome. Correct? Mata ji ko Bura Lag Gaya. Hota na aisa? Bura Lag Gaya mujhe. Like that. Whenever you get this Bura Lag Gaya syndrome, then go to that and then ask, what do I want from devotional life? He who discards, this is a very interesting verse, it's also a nice key memory verse. Ya shastra vidhi mutsrujya vartate kama karatah na sa siddhi mavapnoti na sukham na param gatim. He who discards scriptural injunction and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. So I wanted to read the purport in this class, but because of discussions we couldn't. So I humbly request you, please do not forget to read purports of 23 and 24. We are not going to read it in the class, okay? But very important from your exam point of view. Please read these purports. Verse 24, one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So, who is a person who is acting in lust? What is lust? Lust doesn't simply, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj also clarified this in the Sydney retreat. Lust means what? Doesn't mean only person who is after the opposite sex. Okay? See the second paragraph, first line. The word Kama Karata, 23rd. The word Kama Karata is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. So lust means simply what? Violating the scriptures is lust. It's an all-encompassing definition of lust, if you will. violating the scriptures.
Is that demonic?
Pardon?
That's why it becomes demonic.
Lust, anger, greed, they are 3 gateways to hell.
I mean, that's when we can say it's demonic and ignorance. Knowingly doing something.
No, I haven't come to that. I wanted to tell it because we didn't start chapter 17. Chapter 17 answers that question. Next week mein jayega. So one should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that one may be gradually elevated. So Srila Prabhupada shows the connection between not following the Shastra and acting in lust, anger and greed. He is giving this connection. How do you know this is the connection? See the connection. Read the translation, you will find. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims neither attains perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. And one should therefore understand what is one's duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. So Srila Prabhupada, what he's doing here is that he is giving a negative sentence in verse 23. Negative sentence means what? He is saying that if you don't do this, this is your punishment. Something like that. It's got a negativity in that. So it's almost like a stick. If you don't do this. And then in the final verse, it's not a stick anymore. It's a proper instruction. It says that one should therefore understand one's duty, blah blah blah. So there is a nice purport in these two verses. So take your time out and study this. What we will do is, in the next 5 minutes, we will go to the next chapter and we will just do the we'll see how much we can cover in 5 minutes. Because I really wanted to cover the first few verses at least of the divisions. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to rush. But at the same time, at least the Falashruti we can. So we can end with a story. Okay. So this chapter 17 is called as the divisions of faith. Okay. So there was a king whose name was Khadgabahu. Very good. Khadgabahu. सुना है? सुना ऐसा लग रहा है ना? वही अपना 16 chapter वाले. So this Khadgabahu had a son. Earlier, what was Khadgabahu? What did he have? He had a son, and what was the pastime? He had which animal? Elephant. Yes. Okay. So now, the same Khadgabahu, he had a son. The son had a servant whose name was Dushasan. This guy was very wily, crafty, and at the same time foolish also. Wicked and foolish. This Dushasan. So, this Khadgabahu, you know, he was an expert. If you remember from the past Falashruti, he was an expert in riding, in taming elephants. So, he always had, he had a lot of elephants in his kingdom. So, this particular elephant, mad elephant, he had kept. So, the son also had a mad elephant in his kingdom. So, this Dushasan, who was the servant of Khadgabahu's son. Khadgabahu's son was now he is the king. Does it make sense? Khadgabahu, who was there in chapter 16, he had a son who is now the king. And that fellow's servant is Dushasan, who was very wicked and foolish.
Son's name don't mention.
Son's name is not mentioned. You can say Junior Khadgabahu.
You get 1 mark in the
So this guy was the prince. This guy was the prince. So he said, the Dushasan went and told the prince that I'll ride this mad elephant. Dushasan is the servant of the prince. He said, today I'll ride this elephant. So the prince said, no, don't do that. It's a mad elephant. So he said, no, I'll ride. So he went on the elephant and he started riding the elephant. And to cut a long story short, the elephant threw him down and trampled him. And then this Dushasan died. What else do you expect? An elephant died, right? And then what happened next lifetime? what did he become? Huh? Elephant, yes. He became an elephant because he was thinking about the elephant at the time of death. So he became elephant. And he was thinking about the elephant and the king. So he became an elephant in a king's palace. In another king's palace called as, that kingdom was called as Simhala Dweep. Like that. Now this king of Simhala Dweep was a close friend of that Khadgabahu's son. So this guy who was Dushasana in the previous lifetime, who has now become an elephant, in Simhala Dweep was gifted back to Khadgabahu. So karma is that you can come to the same place somehow. Okay. But Khadgabahu saw this and said, oh, nice elephant, and then he also gifted it further. Sometimes it happens in the congregation, no, that we rotate gifts. होता है क्या नहीं होता सच बोलो हमारा में okay so then he rotated this gift उसको gift मिला उसने दे दिया he gifted it to one poet who pleased this king Khadgabahu, Prince Khadgabahu, and what the poet did was he kept the elephant for some time. वो poet को हाथी रख के क्या करेगा वो? So he sold that elephant again for 100 gold coins to King of Malwa. Okay. Now, one day, this elephant, whose name was Dushasana in the previous lifetime, he was a male. Okay. So this elephant developed a terminal disease, right, and stopped eating and drinking. So the king of Malwa, yes, you are listening, you are awake. King of Malwa tried with the best of doctors to cure this elephant. But surprisingly, the elephant started speaking. And he said, my dear king of Malwa, you are a very pious person and a strict follower of the Vedas. You always worship the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So you must know, the king of Malwa was a devotee. So the elephant is telling, you must know that at the time of death, when death is written now, then no medicines, no doctors will be able to be of any use. And I know that I am going to leave my body. So don't try to waste your time doing this. Neither any kind of mundane charity will help me at the time of death. If you want to really care for me, my dear king, and want to help me, then you should bring someone who
recites chapters of
very good. Who recites the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So as requested by that elephant, the king brought one great devotee who regularly recited the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That devotee, while chanting the 17th chapter, what did he do? He sprinkled some water on the elephant. Now you call that subroutine program. What happened? What happens now? He sprinkles water.
Elephant dies.
Elephant dies, then what happens? 400 form comes and then? No. How will you go to Vaikuntha? How? Simply by 400 form you can go or what?
No, become a devotee.
Huh?
The next birth will become a devotee.
See, so many times I tell in the class till you don't understand. Very good, see. There has to be an aeroplane, no? Golden aeroplane is coming. Vaikuntha Viman. Pushpak Viman comes, sits, goes back. Okay. Is that the end of the story? No. Then what happens? Then the king saying this. Now you are right. Then the king saying this regularly starts reciting the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and attains the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. I am going to ask at least one question in the exam on this.
How did this elephant came
On
to
the
know
commonalities of the past.
This is a good question, Prabhuji.
How did this elephant came to know about this knowledge when he was previously was foolish as well as
that Lord Shiva didn't tell Parvati what you have to ask Lord Shiva that. The Prabhupada ki